Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Business Advisory Services Implementation Training Summary. I'm Peter Towers, Managing Director of ESS BIZTOOLS. Welcome. If you have any questions during the webinar, can you please go on to chat and type in your question? We are doing this broadcast as a live Facebook broadcast today. Welcome, those of you who are joining us on Facebook. If you have any questions, or if you are watching this video recording at a later date, which is more convenient to you, and you have questions, please send me an email, peter@essbiztools.com.au, and I will get back to you. So let's move on and have a look at what's involved in the delivery of business advisory services. I think it's important that firms get prepared because this is a major shift for many accountancy firms being able to offer this broader range of professional services. So we start off with what's the preparation that's going to be necessary. This is a major diversification, therefore firms need to prepare. And in our system, we have the Business Advisory Services Training Package. This is 13 modules. I'm going to talk to you about some of them today. The introduction looks at the general concept. And this is really going to challenge your accounting team to be looking at on a more in-depth basis into what goes on in your clients' businesses, knowing something about the industry, following that industry, being able to communicate with your clients on that industry. And after a few months of working in this area, your team members should be able to make presentations to businesses from those industries that you're going to concentrate on, because the concept should be that you're developing accountants with real knowledge about these industries. The introduction also includes survey forms for your team members to complete, because this is not going to be everyone's number one preference. Some people really like to be heavily involved in taxation matters, and that's okay. We're still going to need tax returns prepared. Your firms are still going to need that very welcome cash flow and the continual roll up of clients to have their tax work done. But the market is becoming far more competitive, and you probably don't need me to tell you that. We got a module which goes through and looks at getting organized. Our suggestion is that you spend about 1 hour on each of these modules. Now, you can do it every day for 13 days if that suits, or you can do it once a week for 13 weeks. Or, as some people have done, do it all in a couple of days. That's up to you. But I think you need to work through this. And we need to have an understanding of what's involved in offering business advisory services. You need to know your clients a lot more than what you probably do at present. I can remember a Ford motor car dealer that I got to know very well, and he was a very successful motor car dealer. And I went to a number of his team training sessions. He built a training center when it was unheard of that car dealers had training centers to train their staff. And his common comment was, you have to be able to walk in the mahoganins of the people that you're trying to sell to. You have to be able to walk in their shoes to understand what is of interest to them. Team training is very important. And we have a module on that, which is working through the training that we're suggesting that your team, and that includes partners, if you're going to be directly involved in this presentation, to understand various aspects. Understand some of the reading that I think people should be doing if they're going to perform in this area. Reading the Financial Review, reading the Australian, reading websites on particular industries. Leadership strategies. We have some leadership material contained in our package, but the purpose of it is to help in the development of product champions within your firm. I think that's very important. And this needs to be spread. And I don't think it's really a role for partners. Partners have already got a lot on their plates and need to be mentoring and supervising this role rather than being there actually delivering the services. But that's up to you. You might work your team, will have various functions to attend to. Marketing and communications. You do need to market business advisory services. Your clients don't realize that you can offer these services. Some might, but not many will. Why? Because for many, many years, most accountancy firms in Australia have concentrated on the preparation of annual accounts, income tax returns, audits, some in insolvency, some doing financial planning. Not many have openly talked about business advisory services. So you need to tell them what you're doing. And we have some training material on that. We've got a range of 24 product packages within ESS BIZTOOLS. That's what our gold subscribers receive access to. But that's, for most firms, too many to start with. So what we're suggesting at present is you would start with our starter package, which has got a lot less products, but you still need to select the ones that you're specializing in. And that should be geared towards what your client industries are. What are their expectations likely to be? We're going to talk about the SME Needs Analysis shortly, but it's a vital document because it is designed to try to get your clients to clearly tell you what they're interested in hearing about. And we have a seminar or a webinar, and perhaps you run both, to launch business advisory services, to tell your clients, this is part of the communications. This is what we're now doing. This is the training we've put in place. And if you've been able to develop some product packages, say in debtors management, tradies charge out rate calculators, some of the health checks, they're the people who should be presenting in the seminars or webinars to ensure that your clients understand that they understand these products, they're able to assist them. Otherwise, the clients are going to be looking for the partners to do it all. We've got some material prepared by a sales coach on how you can sell business advisory services. It mightn't sound part of the accounting traditional culture, but this is a new world you're now getting into, or hopefully you're getting into, with business advisory services. We need to make proposals. We need to follow up. We need to get an answer. The client accepts or they don't accept the course. And then try to find out what their objection is. And then you go through the implementation of these services as a key offering to your clients, not something that's only thought about when the client asks you if their debtors' days outstanding are too high. You need to develop a proactive attitude as if you were the full-time chief financial officer or accountant of that client. And I can assure you, because I've had that position in a listed public company, that debtors management and stock inventory and cash flow and budgets and financial accounts are all very much part of the role. And you're the one that would be expected to be on top of that. You know exactly what the debtors' days outstanding is. You know what it was last week and last month. And you have got strategies to make sure you reduce it as far as possible. That's the role. that is going to come out of offering business advisory services. So it's no use me sugarcoating this and saying it's just life as normal. It's just a brief extension of what you've been doing, preparing annual accounts and tax returns. It's not. It is a full range of commercial activities to help your clients run their businesses better. If they were larger, they would have a full-time CFO and probably a company secretary, but they're not. But they're still wanting to grow. They're still wanting to add value. They need these services. So let's look at the SME Needs Analysis. This is a document which we're going to explain in more detail in our webinar series that starts from the 7th of July, where each week we are going to present a special webinar and give you a tour of the ESS BIZTOOLS site so you can see the composition of that material. The SME Needs Analysis is a series of descriptions as to what is meant by debtors days outstanding, stock inventory, benchmarking, capital raising, government grants. And it's really asking your client to comment. Are they happy where they are at present with their debtors days outstanding? Many of them will ask you to tell them what it is. They don't know. And I hope that your team know what the debtors days outstanding is for each one of your commercial clients who are offering credit. So you can have that conversation with them. This is all part of convincing the client that you need to deliver. They understand they need more services, but you've got to get the client's buy-in. And part of that is that they have this feeling in their stomach that you can deliver, that you have changed how you're offering your services. Now, your clients don't really appreciate that when you went to university, you learnt a whole range of services and products and laws and commercial processes. And when you did your PY or your CPA or whatever other qualification to be admitted to your professional body, you did the same thing. It just wasn't on tax or on preparation of annual accounts. But in the marketplace, that is what in Australia firms have traditionally delivered. So this is the challenge we've now got. Clients are looking for a broader range of professional services. It's obvious to me that the accountants who are currently acting for those firms should be first in line to supply additional services. But you need to take up that challenge to get the client's buy-in. And part of that is convincing them. Part of that is having open communications with them, explaining to them that you've now spent 3 months on team training. You've worked through all the products and services you can now deliver. In lots of ways, this should only be a refresher on what was learned at university and in the PY type process. But I honestly believe firms need to go through this. The next area is to look at your clients. Now, I was a partner in an accounting firm and I had 3 other partners and we all had our clients. And I had some manufacturers and my other partners also had manufacturers. And I had a lot of retail clients and they had retail clients. But unfortunately, in lots of firms, we don't really know what the other partner's doing, do we? We seem to work in little compartments. I think this is one of the challenges that we're facing. And you need to be looking at on a firm basis on the industries that are within your clients so that you can analyze what services do they need. Obviously, if you've got a whole range of cash businesses, and cash is starting to disappear, of course, isn't it? But businesses that are not offering credit, well, you mightn't be that interested in debtors days outstanding or debtors systems for your clients. So what services do they need? What services do you think reacts to that industry? What's happening in their industry? It might be a new government grant got announced last night for the motor vehicle support industry, for tradies, for whatever. I think it's important that your firm's able to respond. You know who your clients are in the various classifications. You know their names. You've got them in a database. You can immediately communicate with them. This is a new government announcement or an industry announcement or whatever it is, so that they see that you have got their back. You are worried about them. You are thinking about them all the time. This is what business advisory services is about. So let's look at the services that you could offer. And this is out of our starter package, which is where we believe the majority of new subscribers to our product should start with. You can add on others later on as you find that your clients are interested in things like virtual chief financial officer services or research and development or succession planning. So let's look at them. Client mentoring and coaching. We've got a series whereby you're given material that you could send to the clients that you've selected, the ones who you believe are A-class clients that you can grow this service offering to. You could send that to them on a weekly or fortnightly basis. And there's about 4 to 6 mail outs in that system. What's it doing? It's educating the client on the types of work that you can now do for them. Now, some people have said to me, but Peter, they'll start doing it themselves. And I just say, no, I've been around long enough to know that they don't. Most clients have got interest in other areas other than accounting or financial controller type matters. They're sales or production or research type backgrounds. They want to run a business. They want to be the front guy, and they need to be out talking to people, finding deals, bringing them back so their team can do the work. They're not going to want to buy in, but they need to understand it, because you're going to be asking them to pay fees based on you performing a virtual CFO role. Well, they need to understand what it is, what you're going to do for them in their business. So the client mentoring and coaching is material we've prepared to help you to educate your client on the services that you can now provide. Debtors management. You know, we've got the worst debtors days outstanding record in the world, according to a survey that was done a couple of years ago. That's a national disgrace. So this system goes through checklist after checklist of things that could be done to reduce debtors days outstanding. Survival in difficult times. Well, we're in difficult times at present, aren't we? And unfortunately, I think we're going to be in difficult times for another couple of years. Sure, some businesses seem to be booming at present, but there's a lot of problems still out there. Talk to people in hospitality, in accommodation, tourism activities. We've got no international tourists. We've got premiers shutting off borders. At the least, I think, problem emerging. And I know they've got to protect our health, but we also got to have businesses that are still functioning. So there's still a lot of very difficult times. This is a 38 questionnaire document, detailed questions that you could work through with your clients. And we've got links to articles we've written on how the client might be able to overcome the problems that have been identified from the questionnaires. I think it's a great product for you to start working with your client. And it's an ageless product, because unfortunately in Australia, we always have difficult times somewhere. We have cyclones, floods, bushfires. And then we have COVID-19. Hopefully we don't get too many more of them. But unfortunately, I think it's going to be around for a lot longer. Tradies charge out rate calculator. How many tradies have you got? One of our subscribers tells me he's got over 100, because every year he sits down with them and uses this product to set their charge out rates, taking into account their team classifications, the expected working hours, the expected productivity, the realistic productivity percentages. the markup that they're going to be able to recover on external purchases they make for the benefit of clients, customers. And how much money do they think they're going to spend? Is it $1 million, $2 million on buying products in for clients? Their overhead expenses. So what should the charge out rate be to achieve their targeted profit, which would have also been factored in? We've got a spreadsheet product which enables this to be prepared fairly quickly. You can then sit down and show it to your client, get their buy-in. And then the next phase of that is saying to them, now we should prepare monthly financial accounts and have a business review meeting so we can analyze how it's going. Because if we're budgeted for a certain employee to be getting 85% productivity and he's only getting 72%, that's in all probability, unless someone else has picked up somewhere else, is going to blow the profit forecast. Now that's real working, and most of you will have a lot of tradies, carpenters, painters, mechanics, tilers. There's a lot of them out there. The retail product mix. Retailing's a difficult industry. I was involved in my public company days. We had 350 odd retail butcher shops all over the place. And this product mix and the various markups and the overheads and the labor in those individual shops was always difficult. So we developed this concept of being able to analyze that and give some feedback. Now you can work like this with your clients, because if you were the full-time CFO or accountant in a retailing centric business, you'd be doing a lot of this. So why not get started? If you've got retail clients, help them to navigate their way through. Some will clearly understand this, of course, but others don't. We've got a professional services charge out rates, which is very similar to the tradies, except normally we don't have markups on external purchases. Some cases we might, in which case use the tradies one. Just have to rebadge it. Business health checks. We've developed business health checks worksheets for 5 industries, and we believe it's in far more detail than a benchmarking report, because the benefit you can do when you're doing a business health check for your own clients is basically have the figures rolling on from one month to the next. And you can measure results to marketing and communication campaigns. How many promotional letters went out? What response did you get? And it will help illustrate to your clients how many people they need to contact or how many articles they need to send out if they're going to achieve a sales budget. If they need to generate 100 new customers that are going to spend $80 each a week, how many people do they need to contact? This sort of information will be very helpful for them. SME Debtors Systems Manual. After we did our debtors review work, one of our subscribers contacted me and said, Peter, could you develop us a new debtors system so we can give that to the client? Because you've got those checklists, but they don't all link in together. I want to be able to give the lady in the office a system. Great idea. So we developed it. Ended up about a 30-page document. It's a lot of it's addendums. But it gives that person, who I call the poor person working in offices, who's got this very unattractive job of looking after the debtors. Nothing worse, in my opinion, than having to sit there and chase people up to get paid. Why not try to set the system up properly in the first place so that hopefully those follow-up calls are minimized by making sure that there's a clear understanding that terms of trade need to be established with customers and they've signed off on it, that things like retention of title agreements are factored in, that there's a clear understanding in the office that the debtors list at the end of the month's got to be finalized within 24 hours, that statements, if you're still, clients are still sending statements, are sent with email, not snail mail. And then there's prompt follow-up, that there's this calculation of debtors days outstanding. It becomes one of the key KPIs within the firm. What's our debtors days outstanding? Because it's tying up a lot of cash. If it's sitting on 70 days, when hopefully it should be down around 31, 32 days. How much cash is tied up in that? So there's a lot of work you can do on the data system. The leadership modules will help you develop champions in your team, because these young accountants or marketing people are going to be going out wearing a CFO type hat when they're walking in as your representative into those clients' premises. We want them to be proud. We want them to be upright, but we don't want to go into their heads. They're going to be able to communicate and accept that they are now part of the team. They're not the boss. The boss is the CEO, the client. They're part of the team. Communications. You need to tell your clients what you're doing. So we think the briefing of the seminar and webinar is very important. Our subscribers receive a monthly newsletter we produce called Business Plus. It's got 6 to 8 articles each month in it. Work out which of those articles suit particular clients within your client list. And I think you should be telephoning them or visiting them 3 days later, discussing the article with them. Do they understand it? Has it motivated them to talk to you about some new services? My experience is you've got to follow your clients up on this. They've read it. Oh, I must talk to Jim about this one day, or Mary. But they tend to forget other things happen in the hurly-burly of day-to-day business life. Make contact with them. That shows them that you really believe that's important for them also. Put articles on your website. You can remove the article in our Business Plus and put it on your website. That's part of the deal. We're producing material for you to promote your business. Not to give it to other accountants, of course. We want you to be our subscribers, our members. And what about social media posts and videos? I still run a consulting business, so we're putting our consulting posts and videos onto the ESS BIZTOOLS website for our members to be able to see them and say, geez, we could do something similar to what Towers is doing. Hopefully you can improve on it. Professional development for business advisory services. I think one of the big challenges for accountants is to give business advisory services the respect that it deserves. There's a lot of accountants around Australia now saying they're going to end up with 50% taxation or compliance and 50% business advisory services. That's real respect. It needs to be treated with respect by the professional bodies. And I don't think they're doing that yet. They might be starting to talk about it, at least one is. But there's got to be as many training courses ultimately in business advisory services as what there is in taxation areas, if it's going to be the respected industry. Because if the accountancy profession doesn't really grab hold of this opportunity, others will. People without the range of experience, or it will be some of the bigger accounting firms will say, we can get organized to supply these services. Monitor your key clients' industries. Keep up to date. This is professional development I'm talking about now. Have team discussions on what is happening in the retail jewelry industry. If you've got a stack of retail jewelers, if you've got a large number of medical practitioners, keep an eye on what's happening, what government policies affecting them. Think as if you were the full-time person working in that business. You'd know a lot more about what was going on in the medical industry than just the profit and loss account and balance sheet, wouldn't you? And the tax return. That's the challenge. It's a challenge for each of your industries. Try and anticipate client requirements. That's one of the tricks when you're working in a full-time capacity as a chief financial officer. Now, I'm not going to say I woke up at 3 a.m. asking myself what the boss was going to ask me to do today. I did some days, though. But you need to be continually thinking on the cycle of the business. Where are we at? What are they going to be on to me about now? We were in the meat industry. So a new order was emerging from a different supplier, a different country. I would alert my costing clerks. I had a couple of them to say, well, we've got to do some costing exercises. The boss will be wanting to know all sorts of things. How can we do different things with this range of animals that are going through our abattoirs? So anticipate the requirements. Now, some of these things might be, and this is a very appropriate one to have, a business plan. Have you been out talking to your clients already? We've got a new financial year starting in 7 days. Do they need business plans? They should all need business plans. Budgets and cash flow forecasts. Next financial year, 21-22, you can prepare it now. Assistance on creation of charge out rates, the tradies, the professional service firms, the manufacturers. Go through your client list, contact them. Some of them will get a pleasant surprise. The monitoring of performance on a monthly basis. I think accountancy firms that are geared to business advisory services need to be zeroing in on monthly, bi-monthly or quarterly performance reviews. No longer. Because any longer is going back to just being a compliance service. You're only there then to do tax. But if you're there to deliver business advisory services, I think you've got to be on top of this. You've got to gear around this. And you will find that there's, I think, far more rewards than just sitting there doing the tax return work. But you've got to earn the respect from your clients. If you've got clients who are exporting, there's the Export Market Development Grant. And it's changing significantly from 1 July this year. There's a whole new, but that's the 21-22 year. There's the returns now to be lodged for the 2021 year. They're going to be lodged by the end of November. And there's a process and there are tricks to the trade. Austrade can be a bit tough to deal with in certain aspects. Is that a job you can do for your clients? Research and development. That's our latest product package that we've written. It's a huge area. 13 to 14,000 companies, most of them small, apply for the research and development each year. How many of your clients? Who's doing that work? Are you doing it? Or is it getting farmed out to some other firm? What's likely to happen as that client grows and that research becomes a successful product? If they're going to someone else, sooner or later, they're going to be invited to bring all their work over to them. You could do that. So be aware of what your clients are doing. And a lot of them may have been doing research activities in these work at home and lockout periods that we've had in the last 15 months. Financing of the business. That's where the budgets and cash flows and the business plan are so important. Is that highlighting that they need more money? Where are they going to get the money from? Have they got assets they can secure? Are they happy to sign up someone to give personal guarantees and then have to meet the monthly repayments? Or are they wanting to have a look at this new opportunity to raise capital? When I say new, it's been there for 4 years. But a lot of people still don't appreciate that it's there. They can raise up to $5 million from the public. And well over 100 companies have done so all around Australia in all sorts of industries. Or if they're a young company that's developed a new product, process or service, there's a new company that the government's created called an early stage innovation company. And it's got some real benefits for investors. That's what was put in place for. Are you aware of this? So the communication you could have there is A, with someone who's developed a new technology that's got a young company under 3 years of age. But secondly, It's a great opportunity for investors because they receive a tax rebate. And if they hold the shares for longer than 12 months, they avoid paying capital gains tax. Some real benefits, especially if it's a good product that they've developed. What about government grants? We've been developing a government grant or producing government grant programs for the last 12 years. To be honest, only a very small percentage of the Australian accountancy population's involved in grants based on our records. I thought it'd be far more substantial. Grants are a great introduction to doing various business advisory services because there's grants which will fund business plans, will fund project management, will fund a whole range of services that proactive accountants undertaking business advisory services can produce. And your client's happy. They're getting something done for 50% of the normal costs because that's the normal contribution they get from the government. Why not keep an eye on what's happening as far as other businesses? Monitor some of the crowdsource funding intermediaries' websites so you can see who's getting the deals. It's all public, it's there. And what government grants are available for their type of industry so that they can get this feeling that they know what's going on. It's not quite as good as being able to go onto the ASX and see what's happening with companies on the stock exchange, but that information's now out there because the government insisted that the capital raising for crowdsource funding, equity raising applicants was done in the public arena. It's there. You can supply a virtual chief financial officer service. The technology is now available. The communications are there available. We're proving it doing this. The telephone systems. You could act for clients anywhere in Australia. I think you need to encourage what-if questions. In my period in a listed public company, I reckon I used to spend 2 to 3 hours a day. I don't want to frighten you, but answering the what-if questions. And some of those phone calls would start from a bit after 3 a.m. The CEO would be on the phone. Sometimes he was overseas, of course, and he was just ringing in. But the what-if questions. Now, I cannot believe that only CEOs of listed public companies come up with what-if questions. I think every one of your clients has got them. So who do they ask? If they're not asking you, who are they going to with their financial, corporate governance, commercial type questions? Because I can assure you that in a listed public company, they all come my way. From not only the CEO, but other members of the leadership team. I think your clients have got those questions. And in lots of cases, they either don't ask them or they ask their spouse or they ask their best mate or they ask someone in the pub. I think you should be encouraging them to ask you. That's your role. Because if you were there working for them full time, you'd be getting them and solving them and understanding what the issues are. The challenge of accountancy firms supplying business advisory services is to enable you or require you to dig deeper, to get below that profit and loss account and tax return and have a far better understanding of what goes on in the motors of your client's business. Then you become a real valuable person to them. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time. It's time that accountants really faced up to what the CommBank Accounting Market Pulse Report and others, CCH and other companies, Andrew Geddes from Smith Inc., David Smith from Smith Inc., Mark Holton from Smith Inc., have been telling us for years that accountants must supply a wider range of services, commonly known as business advisory services. The CommBank believes that 95% of the accounting market is going to be diversifying in the next 12 to 18 months. The real challenge is, how do you implement? How do you go about it? Hopefully this conversation today has given you some ideas as to what I think you should be doing. So I'd now like to introduce you to our special new offer, our New Year offer, because we are wanting to make a real commitment. We're giving you a 50% discount on our business advisory services starter package. $999, including GST, $2,100 before we had this promotion. This is a promotion through to the end of July. That's for the upfront payment, and you get access to the products that I specifically mentioned in this presentation today. Want to know more information? I hope you do. Please go to our website, www.essbiztools.com.au, and then click onto this section, subscribe to Business Advisory Services Product Starter Package, and that will give you full details of what's in the package and hopefully give you any other information that you need to know. And it'll also tell you about the one-on-one training courses which we have available. A subscriber to this package gets 2 1-hour or 4 30-minute training sessions, and we will work them in to suit your time requirements. Or you can give me a phone call, 1-800-232-088, if you've got any other questions, or send me an email, peter@essbiztools.com.au. This is an enormous challenge for the accountancy profession to really deliver on business advisory services. It's been talked about for a long time. I've been around for years. I've observed Andrew Geddes, David Smith in particular, and other people. Jeff Meredith, who started the whole movement out of the University of New England in Armidale, probably 40 years ago. Have been talking about accountants providing a wider range of commercial services. The technology, the communications, the software is now there. It is time to deliver. I look forward to hearing from you. We have a series of webinars which are published on our website, which start on the 7th of July, where we're going to examine in some detail, show you on our website, those individual product packages that I referred to today. The charge out rate calculator for tradies, the management in difficult times, and others. Each week between the 7th of July and the end of August. So I look forward to talking to you then. But I'd really like you to be a subscriber before then so we can have our 2 1-hour training sessions underway so you can get started in your firm. Have a great day. Goodbye. And I hope everything goes very well for you. Thank you. Goodbye.